Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond Dafeet. In this episode we're going to be comparing the Nike Pegasus 37 to the Ghost 13. So both of these shoes are tried and true from both brands. Your Pegasus has been around for 37 years, whereas your Ghost has been a bit younger, being that 13-year-old. But very simplistic shoes from both brands, kind of targeting the same foot. So these are marketed for a neutral runner. If you do mildly pronate, they do work as well for that. Even if you are supinating as well. Probably look at the Ghost 13 if you do supinate quite a bit compared to the 37 Pegasus. They are just made for that daily trainer if you want to pump out a lot of Ks in the shoes and just then hold up and last over that lifetime. The Ghost as well as the Pegasus definitely are marketed as that shoe. Both of these by both brands, they sell in high volume, so very tried and true as I just said, and they keep it simplistic, so not a whole lot going on in both these shoes. Not a whole lot has changed as far as the Ghost 13 goes compared to the Ghost 12. When it comes to the Pegasus 37 compared to the 36, a lot has changed, but we'll get into this right now. So starting off with the outsoles, both of these are going to be very durable. You got the guidance line running on the lateral side of both of them. Slightly bit of cushioning has been taken out of both the rear foot, so these are running with slightly higher offset than most shoes, but we'll get into that when we hit the midsole. Very durable outsole, very thick, a bit more thickness underneath the foot on that Ghost. You're probably looking at about 800 to 1000 Ks out of both of these shoes as far as the outsole goes. Very rarely do we see these kind of wearing out in a certain spot. Sometimes in the Ghost you see a lot of people wearing out that forefoot, but when it comes to the Pegasus, these are kind of using that bit more of a durable rubber, quite stickier as well, and with that nice guidance line on both. If you do supinate, it just kind of does guide you through that step quite well. With the flex screws in the Ghost, you do have more on that forefoot, so it does make for that forefoot to be a bit more flexible compared to the Pegasus, but with that react cushioning as well, does have a slightly bit more of a firmer cushioning system. You don't have that flex groove in that forefoot compared to quite a few in that Ghost 13. Moving on to your midsole, so this is kind of the key difference with both the shoes. Your react cushioning, probably about 3 years old or thereabouts when it comes to Nike. They did use it in the Infinity run, plus this is the first time they are introducing it into the Pegasus series. A lot thicker stack height compared to the old version of it. This is probably one of the better cushioning systems on the market at the moment. Running with a 10mm drop in these. Both of these shoes come in around 280 grams, so these are 285 in the Pegasus 37, whereas the Ghost is sitting at that 280 grams. So very similar weight, like 5 grams is basically just a shoelace. There's not really a whole lot in it. So with the midsole and the Nike Pegasus 37, full react cushioning the whole way through, running with that 10mm drop. You'd have an air pocket underneath the forefoot, so it is 2 times thicker than the 36, and it is 20 psi for men and it is 15 psi for women. So women just wanted that slightly softer feel underneath the forefoot, so that's why it's a slightly bit lesser of a psi, and the men just experience like a bit of a firmer feel, a bit more responsive. Very good cushioning system by Nike. They've definitely hit the nail on the head when it comes to that kind of cushioning, but nice and responsive. I have ran 100 Ks in the Infinity React, which had a great cushioning system, but the upper was pretty useless. With the Ghost 13 midsole, not a whole lot has changed. They have just introduced, instead of just having a DNA loft crash pad in the rear of the foot, they have just co-molded the DNA loft throughout the lateral side of the shoe from the heel all the way to the toe off. So you just get that slightly plusher ride the whole way through. It is kind of only a third of the way into the midsole. So with co-molding, a lot of brands are kind of introducing that now. So it just takes a lot of the adhesive out of the shoe. With the Ghost 12, you'd have adhesive in that crash pad. So what they're able to do is just inject different densities of foam into the midsole now, and it just eliminates that slight bit of weight and can come apart with that adhesive. They've just deleted that as well. So DNA loft, they use a full length DNA loft in their glycerin. With the Ghost, they use that Biomogo on the medial side, and just on the lateral side, they are using that DNA loft. So makes for a slightly plusher ride with that Biomogo, though they are offering that nice kind of firm and responsive feel. But that's kind of the midsole package that the Ghost 13 has. You don't get as much sinking in into the Ghost 13 as you do the Pegasus. I'd probably say, as far as the cushioning system go in both of these shoes, I'd more so lean towards the Pegasus 37. The React foam is it's one of those top tier cushioning systems on the market. Kind of goes up similar to Power Run Plus by Saucony as far as technology goes. Going back to the Pegasus 30 midsole for a second, so with this I have kind of done a bucket seat. So with the medial side, this actually, your foot kind of sits slightly a bit lower in that, so if you do kind of have a lower arch, you probably won't work for this. So your foot sits a bit lower in the shoe. The shoe kind of actually feels like it has an arch, so it's kind of one of those only shoes that does have that. Similar to the Hoka Clifton 6, foot sits lower in the shoe, adds for that kind of slight bit of guidance throughout the gait cycle, and it just leads for an easier toe off. So it gets you onto that midfoot as well as forefoot a bit quicker, and if you do have a slight bit of instability throughout your gait cycle, that just kind of just straighten that up. But it is made for a neutral runner or someone that does supinate. Moving on to the uppers, so very simplistic uppers. They do have just a 2-layered engineered mesh, slightly a bit more airy in the Ghost 13. They are using a detached tongue, so it is quite a bit more padded than the Pegasus. You do have that eyelet on the center of the tongue just to kind of helps stop it sliding to that lateral side, but it is a fully detached tongue all the way down to your forefoot. Nice plush heel counter, very similar to the Ghost 12, so if you did like that, you'll probably like the fit and feel of this. They haven't really changed too much about the upper. Very airy, nice and accommodating toe box, very generous when it comes to a slight bit of elasticity to it. Nothing a whole lot wrong about the Brooks uppers. They got a nice heel counter, so it does have a slight concave section there. Instead of having that kind of flare that Nike and a lot of other brands are doing. Your heel just does sit nicely there, and you do have a lock lace eyelet there if you do need to lock it in a slightly bit better. The Ghost does come in a lot of different sizes. Brooks is probably one of the best brands when it comes to doing a heap of different widths. So you got like a 2A, B, D, as well as 2E in a women's, I'm pretty sure, and you mentioned you got B, D, 2E, 4E, so you got 4 different widths when it comes to this shoe, so you can basically fit any one with a high arch, medium arch, or just a higher instep. If you do have a higher instep in a lot of shoes, the tongue's kind of irritating you. With having a detached tongue, it does just offer you to be able to have a bit more depth throughout that midfoot area. So the Ghost 13, you're definitely going to be able to slip that on if you do have that higher instep, and just other shoes have been irritating you there. With Pegasus 37, nice airy breathable upper, slightly bit shallower compared to the Ghost 13 when it comes to the forefoot. Nice taper off around the toes, very dialed in when it comes to the runner's fit. Slightly bit more of a rigid upper compared to the 36. It's not as flimsy. They have cut out the fly wires in that midfoot section, kind of gone for this extended eyelet system, and just a full gusseted tongue the whole way through, kind of like 3/4 of the way through. The upper does fit a lot better than the Infinity React, so if you have been running in that, fits very similar to the Pegasus 36, to be honest. Slightly bit better fit around the toes. Still have that eyelet system, and the heel counters remain quite similar. So it does have that flare away from your Achilles, so if you do experience any kind of Achilles tendonitis, or just have any irritating when it comes to blisters, and you're kind of prone to having blisters on your Achilles, these can help with that. But yeah, still holds the foot nicely, lock lace if you need that to accommodate the runner's knot. Both of these very nicely dialed in, kind of less is more when it comes to both of these shoes, and you can't really fault either of them. My personal pick out of the lot would be the Pegasus 37, just with the React cushioning, especially with the upper that this has. It's kind of where the Infinity React missed the mark, especially for the price point as well. This is cheaper. This is a cheaper shoe compared to the Ghost 13, and it definitely has a bit more bang for buck in it, especially when the midsole and the outsole come into play, and just the upper seems to fit as a shoe should. But if you are someone that has quite a higher arch or even a wide foot, your Ghost is a lot more accommodating for a lot more neutral foot types. If you do supinate, this could probably work a slightly bit better for you as well. This hasn't changed a whole lot from the 12, apart from just having that DNA loft extended the whole way throughout to your toe off. But yeah, both very, very good shoes, keeping it simplistic. Not a whole lot can go wrong with these. If you choose either of them, you can't really go wrong. They're both very, very good shoes from both brands. If you've got any questions about any of these, let us know in the comments. If you want us to review these in depth compared to other shoes, we'll have a Ghost vs Glycerin and both of these kind of shoe compilations versus a lot of other high cushion neutral shoes on the market as well. Hit us up in the comments, give us one of them ones, hit the subscribe, and we'll see you in another video.
I'd probably just go into like maybe simplify it a little bit by saying like at like I don't know $180 that cushioning system's gonna. Like you did kind of say that the same Power On Plus, but for the money you're spending,